Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
The final round of the season finds us in the land of the rising sun, the track that can only be described as a true driver's delight. A unique figure-of-8 layout that has a bit of everything, this Suzuka circuit may be a little bit difficult to overtake on in modern machinery, but it more than makes up for it in tight, twisting, and incredibly technical layout that will be sure to test drivers to the utmost. Hello everyone and welcome to the final round of the iRacing Israel League, brought to you here live on Apex Racing TV. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Dane Baird with our director and producer, Luis Araya, behind the scenes. And Dane, this track is absolutely fantastic to drive around, but how are these IRO 4s going to take to this historic circuit?
I think that actually suits it really, really well. Obviously designed for Formula 1. So yeah, despite it being quite an old circuit now, a real classic, these IRO 4 cars should be fantastic. These cars, they race so well at almost every single circuit. I just can't help but think they might struggle slightly here, just because it's so narrow in so many places. There's not really many hard braking zones into tight corners or into really slow corners. You've got turns 1 and 2. That can be a good overtaking spot, especially if you get a good run out of the Casio Triangle, but obviously very quick right-hander, double right-hander, whilst braking, very tricky to put a move on there. Oftentimes you get forced to the outside, and well, that can be a very tricky thing to do as well. So might be slightly challenging to overtake, but these cars and these drivers have proven time after time that they provide some fantastic racing no matter what circumstances you put them in. So I'm going to leave it up to the drivers in the IRO 4 cars. We'll see exactly what they can do. It's a long race today as well, so they've got plenty of time to get some moves done.
Yeah, they do indeed have plenty of time to be able to get those moves done as we look ahead here, focusing in on Arnon Levi right now, the number 39, bringing that car around for qualifying here at this point. Drivers will have 2 laps to be able to set their hot lap down. And we will ride on board here, being able to get a good perspective of what this is like. And Dane, long front straightaway here, you'd think this would be a good overtaking opportunity, but as you said, really not heavy enough of a braking zone coming down here into turn 1 to really get too much to play for. And if you try to hold out around that outside, as you certainly said, as Arnon gets it a little bit wrong, great car control being able to hold on to that though.
That's exactly what will happen if you go on the outside. They're going to force you over that curb, and yeah, they might have given you some room, but the curbs here at Suzuka, especially here on iRacing, probably one of its biggest challenges, especially on the exits. You'll see there's a very slight lip from the edge of the curb onto the AstroTurf on the other side. That AstroTurf has pretty much zero grip. So when you go from the curb, which is nice and cambered to in your favor, so you can lean up against it. Here you can see on the left-hand side as well, a little bit of blue-green AstroTurf. You get slightly over the curb, you fall off, and that falling motion, whilst you're on the exit of the corner, you're still trying to get the car turned in fully. That is where the car snaps on you, and you'll see people going around. You'll see that happen exit of turn 1, entry of turn 2, but also the biggest two culprits, spoon curve, which we're about to come up to now, and then just after that, 130R. Those two exits, very, very easy to go straight around just by falling off the edge of the curb.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful about that here. Let's see if they're able to hold it together here as we continue to ride on board with Levi. Oh, a little bit of that drift, as you said, but he's going to be able to keep everything up and underneath him, and will be able to keep pointed the right way. A little bit of a lift out of that on the throttle as he keeps going. Let's see how he is able to take to 130R here as he's going to come down through the corner. This is another one, as you said, got to watch out for the curbing here. Easy flat.
Easy flat.
Very impressive there from Arnon Levi. Clearly, these cars generating enough downforce to make that work.
Yeah, and they really do. They're also really good at not giving you too much dirty air. So that is the #1 issue with racing at Suzuka, really, is dirty air can be a huge problem, especially in the first sector. You've got turns 1 and 2. That they're not too bad, but then you've got the S's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 S's really before you reach the next long section of circuit where you're not going through quick corners. So you'll see here as John Chico puts himself on the top of the timing tower through here. This is Dirty Air City. You're trying to follow someone close, maybe half a second ahead of you. You're not going to have any turn in into any of these corners, and one of these corners you get slightly wide ruins the entire complex.
Yeah, it certainly does. It is such a rhythm section, and that's a bit of an overused phrase in motorsports, but it really and truly is. You've just got to find that correctly and make sure you get it right because of the way everything leads into one another. Same is a little bit true through the two Degners there, as we just saw Yossi Gabe go through those. If you have a little bit of a wobble going into Degner 1, it's going to throw you off exponentially when you go down into Degner 2. Able to take the hairpin pretty well through there. That's an area of the track, because of the layout, we normally don't see a lot of overtaking there, but it is pretty much the heaviest braking zone on the circuit, so a little bit of give and take as it goes. But we watch right now Yossi Gabe working his way around second place, only about a 10.5 off of John Chico. Again, they'll have 2 laps to set a time here, and a little bit of a format change. It is a 40-minute race that will take place here at Suzuka, and pit stops, we do expect them to come into play, so that's certainly going to change, I think, some of the strategy and calculus for some of these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, and even some drivers potentially doing some fuel saving because they are pitting, and it's mandatory because you need the fuel to make it to the end of the race. So we saw that in Spa last time out, where they had the first real long race format. They did have not a massive amount of fuel that they had to add into the cars. The cars were only stopped maybe 3-4 seconds. But if you can sit behind someone in their slipstream in the draft for a while, a good few laps, you can lift and coast a little bit into the corners. You can carry a bit of extra speed because obviously instead of using the slipstream to try and make an overtake and use more fuel, you can just sit behind, use less fuel. And whilst that's not going to cut out the pit stop necessarily, it might make your pit stop a couple seconds shorter. And if you're stuck behind the person in front of you, just save the fuel, and then you'll come out a couple seconds ahead of them when you guys go into the pit stop. So it's a couple of little strategy elements that we didn't have in the shorter races from the past. So Toma Ventura gets it slightly wrong there in the Degner section. Very easy to do that. Hopefully the drivers can all keep it nice and safe for the first couple of laps as qualifying ticks towards the end.
Yeah, only about 45 seconds left to go here as we watch Tomer Ventura just currently going to pull that car off to the side. He's currently 3rd in the AM category right now. Of course, 2 different categories that we run with here, the pros and the AMs out on track, but we expect them to be battling with each other over the course of the running, so Ventura going to hopefully be able to get his way up forward ahead of Bertie Galili, who will be lining up behind him. Looks like Yossi Gabe has been able to pip John Chico to the pole here at this point. Chico sits about a 10th and a half behind Yossi Gabe, and then Nadav Yaron finds himself in third place in that pro category. Pole for the AMs. Looks like it's going to be Papachado here in a good position and going to have a little bit of a buffer with Tassoni in between himself and Realitsur. So that's going to be a good run. But there, the checkered flag flies for qualifying, and we get ready to grid up and go racing here at Suzuka for the 40-minute race. Lining up in pole position will be Yossi Gabe, followed by John Chico, then with Nadav Yaron and Averem Papachado. Ran Tassoni will line up P5, followed by Realitsur with Sheeran Kaner and Tomer Ventura. Bertie Galili lines up in 9th, and Mark Zubarev will round out your top 10, Dane.
Yep, then you got Island Shirt just behind in 11th, then draw last. Tal Stern, Aviad Yarmarkov, Daddy Diag. And you also got Arnon Levi and Ruben Chacha not setting a time in qualifying. And if I can think correctly about this, I think that's going to be planned by the #1 driver in the series. Amir Hesed in 18th, and then Ophimus in 19th, the bottom 3 there, not setting a lap time. But Ruben Chacha in 17th, I think he wants to stay out of trouble at the beginning of the race, but should be some good action as he tries to carve his way through the field there.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there on that. Chashashvili up at the top of the field here and leads the way in championship points. So that certainly means that I think he's just looking for a little bit of a test today and maybe just have a little bit of fun trying to work his way through the field, or as you said, try to avoid some of those very, very difficult sometimes comings together that we see down into turn 1 and up through the snake. Waiting for a couple of drivers here to grid up. They've got about 30 more seconds. Tal Stern and Offer Mazus, the last 2 drivers that we are waiting for here as the whole grid gets ready to form up. Again, a 40-lap race here around Suzuka. That is what we have in store for you here today. A longer race than we are used to seeing, but it's going to be fantastic to be able to check out and see how these drivers are able to handle it. But first, you've got to get through turn 1. A little bit of a funnel coming down there, and as you mentioned earlier, Dane, it can certainly catch you out just a little bit if you are not ready. There, the clock ticks on over. Looks like Telstern and Offer Mazus not going to be gridding up, but we've got 3 lights on as there goes the green, and we are racing in Suzuka. Looks like a pretty good getaway there for Yossi Gabe as the field starts to work their way. A little bit of 3 wide there, farther back in the pack. That's for about 4th and 5th position. I think they're going to sort themselves out by the time they get into turn 1. And look at John Chico already being aggressive down to the inside there of Yossi Gabe, and Chico's going to lead as they come through the S's for the first time.
Yeah, like you said, single file for the first few rows of cars, but they were going too wide through turn 3 as they made their way through a couple rows back as well. But everybody seems to make it through the first few corners cleanly, and now that they're up into a semi-single file fashion for the most part, looks like we'll be seeing some safe driving for the first half of the lap at least. And now into the Degners they'll go, and this is the next opportunity for people to maybe make a couple mistakes. It closes up a lot, very narrow, and I think we might have an issue with Diag in the background. It looks like he's gone off the circuit, but it looks like he also has come back on. So it looks like we still have all of our drivers that started the race still in the race.
And look at that, a little bit of side-by-side there farther back in the field between Yaron and Sony, trying to see what they're able to sort themselves out on right now. And that is going to be Kaner there. Sheeran Kaner trying to be able to pick the pocket of the 2 of them as they work their way now up into Spoon for the first time. A little bit of a look there from Nadav Yaron going down into this long left-handed corner. Had to check his momentum there a little bit. Ran to Sony being able to sort of park that car at the apex. We take a look back now out of the rear end of the number 20, and I think this could be a little bit of a good move here for Sheeran Kaner. He's certainly going to be close behind in the draft as they work their way down into the fearsome 130R. We saw these drivers be able to take it flat out in qualifying. Are they going to be able to do the same thing here in the race? It does look indeed like that. Little bit of a lockup, little bit of close quarters action there. That was Sheeran Kaner almost getting it wrong down into the Casio Triangle.
Oh, and he's almost bum drafting out of the Casio Triangle as well as they try and make their way down now onto the main straight. Now, this is where this would be a fantastic overtaking opportunity, but Is he going to be forced to go on the outside, side by side through turns 1 and 2? He is. Round the outside is just not going to be able to make that one work. He's going to have to hold back for now. Can he get the switch back? Actually, out of turn 2, they're going to be side by side in towards turn 3 again. He has the outside line, will become the inside line this time, and the 48 is going to get in front. Brilliant move there.
That was a gorgeous move out of the number 48, using that switchback to the absolute perfection there to be able to get his way above Nadav Yaron. Now he will set his eyes up ahead on Rantasoni to see if he's able to close in on the back of the number 20 as they work their way now through the Degners for the second time, waiting to see how everything will play itself out. The gap right now is starting to form up a little bit there. We focus farther back in the field. This is Birdie Galili in the number 420, leading Tomer Ventura. Ventura going to have a little bit of a look to what will be the outside of the hairpin, trying to see if he can send that number 13 in deep. Thought about the crossover. Looked like that's not going to work, and he's going to just try to get on the blound pedal, carry a little bit more momentum is Ventura, but I don't think he's going to be able to get the move done here unless he's very aggressive coming up into Spoon.
Yep, Spoon, not your average regular overtaking opportunity, but he's going to look for the inside line anyway, and that's going to put him a bit wide. He's got over the curb, and all in front of him gets into the curb. They're going to make contact as well. Nowhere for Ventura to go. The car spins off to the inside, slides back up the circuit into the outside. I'm speaking in oval terms here, but yeah, 420. I think they're quite lucky there. I don't think too much damage was caused by that. I think they were both carrying the same sort of speed the whole way through, DJ, and I think they've got away with it there.
Yeah, looking at that number 420 of Galili, it doesn't look like any damage to that car, nor does it for Ventura. Let's go back and take a look at the replay here, Dane. You saw that look to the inside there for the number 13. I think that potentially just pushed Galili to make a mistake and rode on the curb a little bit too hard.
It's exactly what we were talking about in qualifying, is he just dropped off the edge of the curb and around the car went. I said it can happen at the exit of Spoon. It doesn't look like 130R is an issue in these cars because they don't get close to that curb, but definitely through Spoon, looks like it might be a bit of an issue. And now they're still battling up here for that third spot overall.
Yeah, that's Sheeran Kaner trying to send a little bit of a move that we saw a little bit earlier on Nadav Yaron right now. That didn't play out for Kaner. He's going to have to back it up and try again here at a different point in time. Going to just keep behind here. Looks like he's able to manage that aero wash that we talked about relatively well, although does lose just a little bit, call it about 1/10 of a second coming up through the S's. And all things considered, that's not too bad for losing out an aero wash.
Oh, around he goes.
Oh!
Too much inside curve for Degnan 1, and honestly, all 360 kept on going. So that is very, very, but unfortunately, Kaner is going to lose out on that 4th spot overall. And again, just getting shuffled back here, a little bit further back in the back. He's about to see them coming out of the hairpin now. This could be interesting, though. There's not too much separating them.
No, not too much separating them here at this point, and almost nothing separating Sheeran Kaner from Reuven Cha-Cha. Where did he come from? Cha-Cha moving his way up through the field. Remember, he started farther down. Whoo, that got close.
They're 3 wide in the background heading into Spoon. I almost thought there was going to be a massive incident, but somehow they've all got through that cleanly and they sort of spread themselves out again. But just behind, they went 3 wide onto the entry of Spoon. Not something I would personally recommend doing. It does narrow up quite a bit through that part of the circuit, but now someone's going to make a move into the Casio Triangle, surely.
Yeah, they're going to be close enough here. This is Papashato, Ventura, Zubarev. Here comes the move. That is going to be Cha-Cha on, or that's going to be Kaner, rather, trying to be able to get around. Not going to be able to make it work. Reuven Cha-Cha holding on to that position for now, but it looks like Kaner is certainly trying to respond, although I do notice a little bit of damage there on the right front wing of that car. Is that going to hurt him? Cha-Cha being forced to go defensive here down the main straightaway. That actually could set him up for a little bit of an overtake here on Really Sir if he's late on the binders. Does it look like he is? They're going to fall back into line, and Cha-Cha will defend the position.
It's really funny. You see Kaner go off the circuit. Oh, there's a car off in the background. I think that might be Ventura. But yes, the car off in the background at turn 1, but no damage looks like, so they should be fine. But yeah, you can see they go all the way over the curb and they sort of straddle the curb, and that's completely fine. It's just when you just like slightly fall off, you take slightly too much curb, you just fall off the edge of it, that's when it's going to get you and turn the car around. But if you commit to that line, you just go over the curb and you fully commit to it, nothing's going to happen. It's just one of those weird things, just these weird shaped curves that they've got here. You can see there, Cha-Cha in the back view, completely commits to the curb and absolutely nothing goes wrong. But yeah, it's just when you slightly fall off that the issues start to happen. That wasn't the best exit from the 36. Now is Chacha going to look for a move for third overall?
He's certainly thinking about it here at this point, trying to get by the AM leader. Right now, he's going to poke his nose to the inside, coming up the hill into Spoon. Thinks better of it, takes a slightly later apex into the corner, trying to carry as much momentum as he can as they now exit out of Spoon. A little bit of a slip and slide there for Really Sir up in front of him. We focus in on Sheeran Kaner, but here comes the move as we ride on board with Kaner. That is going to be too wide, going down into 130R for Ruben Chacha. He's got a nose ahead as they get into the corner. Is he going to be able to make it on that narrower line? He's going to slip out a little bit wide, but a good move there by Chacha.
Gets a little bit over the curb. I thought he might fall off the edge of it and spin around in front of us, but does that to perfection. Chacha, brilliant move to get up into third overall. Immediately will have his eyes set on the drivers up in front. Now Kaner goes into the pit lane, and I wonder, is that a scheduled pit stop, or have there been a couple of incident points given out? I can't see anything just yet in terms of penalties, so I think that that is the first of the front runners to go down into the pit lane. Although Yossi Gabai also went down into the pit lane earlier on, I see now. So a couple of drivers already going down into the pit lane. It's very early on, but if you've got the space in the tank for the fuel and you're not getting past the drivers in front of you, might be a good strategy.
Yeah, might be a good strategy indeed, and let's not forget the fact that that we saw Kaner in that number 48 have a little bit of damage on the wing, so maybe that was a little bit of a 2-for-1. Come down, take that early pit stop, kind of reset yourself, and also get that car repaired. Remember, they do have one spare car that they're able to use, so I think that could be the double meaning for that pit stop.
I always find it funny to think of fast repairs as like the Formula E, the old Gen 1 Formula E pit stops where they used to get out, run into the other car, strap themselves back in, and out they go. Oh, a little bit of contact in towards Degner 2, and that's actually going to slow both of them down here. Kane is going to look for that move up the inside into the right kink. It will be the outside for the hairpin, but he's going to get given that position there by Galili. But yeah, interestingly, oh, wow, it was a close call as well. Diag almost taking them both out. With a bit of a spin there. It keeps it out the wall, so should be fine. But yeah, something interesting to note is the amount of time that drivers spend stationary inside the pit lane. So the pit lane is going to take around about 29 seconds, 27 seconds to go through from start to finish. But Kaner was stopped for 2.5 seconds exactly. Yossi Gabai was stopped for 5. So is that too much fuel for Gabai, or was that not enough fuel for Kaner? It's a little bit of cat and mouse with the fuel numbers here. We'll wait and see what some other drivers do. But Chico out in front, setting down some good times, immediately beaten by 0.4 of a second by Chacha, who sets it purple.
Yeah, and remember Ruben Chacha starting from the back of the field here, up 14 on the day, and that purple time is going to help him to close down a little bit on Ransoni. But right now, John Chico setting the pace at the front of the field. He's got about a 3-second gap. We've got another taker down into pit lane. That is Bertie Galili there in the number 420. So it certainly does look like that pit stop window is open with about a quarter of this race done. But John Chico being able to, frankly, take advantage of what you and I were talking about a little bit before on this broadcast, and that is just hot lap this Suzuka circuit. You know, it can be a little bit difficult to overtake and all of that, but to just go out and run here is a real driver's delight, as I said in the intro. When you get this thing right, it is a great feeling.
Yeah, it definitely is. Coming out of that, it's quite heavily cambered, the second deck. So when you come out of that in the right way, it's going to be good for you. But that is, oh, he's got stuck on top of him. Bit hot onto the braking zone for the 60. Sends it up the inside. Completely the right thing to do there. He gets out of the way of the driver in front, but 36 had nowhere to go.
No, certainly didn't. As we watch here, Papachado comes down to the inside, thinks about the move, locks up the brake, and just a pop over the wing there. A very, very unfortunate coming together between himself and the number 36. My goodness gracious, really, sir. I think coming off a little bit worse for the wear on that is I noticed some damage on the right front wing on Sir. At least I thought I did. So that could be a little bit of a problem. But now this is setting up a big battle. Aiden Shear trying to get involved in this. He's going to pull still behind in the draft. Papashato losing positions as they run. That's also going to allow for the number 13 to come on by. Whoa! Way off to the outside goes Tomer Ventura.
I think saw a bit of a catastrophe happening in front of him and thought, nope, I'm out of here. And took the furthest to the outside line you can possibly take without ending up in the gravel trap on the outside there. Papashato getting back in front, and both drivers will peel off into the pit lane. And is that because of the incident limit, or is that because of pit stops and maybe some fast repairs as well? I think both of them kind of thinking, yeah, I'll go for the fast repair. Here comes Ventura once again, and up the inside, probably one of the easiest moves they'll make all day.
Yeah, that's a pretty smooth move there. I've got the sense that Aiden Shearer didn't put up too much of a fight there as a result of that, and that's something that we see a lot here on the iRacing Israel League. Drivers are very, very in tune with everything that goes on around them. They're very cognizant of it, and if they'll know if you're a faster car, and they're more than likely to let you on by with a relatively non-defendable move.
Yeah, once you get the inside line for turns 1 and 2, it does become very difficult to actually defend. Because once you're on the outside, very, very difficult to defend. You've got to hold it around the longer route. You've got to make sure you don't clip that curb, otherwise around you go. You can't get too close to the driver on the inside, otherwise netcode or just contact might just take you right out of things altogether. And then you still got to try and go quicker than the guy on your inside. Very, very difficult to do. It can be done. But it is very difficult to do, and then obviously you go into the S's and your line's compromised from the very beginning. So yeah, definitely wiser, just especially when you've got 25 minutes or so left in the race, just give them the position. If you're quicker, you'll get it back.
Yeah, exactly. Also, up at the front of the field, Ruben Chacha continues his meteoric rise up through the order, make him up 15 on the day, getting able to move by Rand Sony here, trying to see if Sony's going to have anything to fight back with. I don't think he's going to, with Chacha's already been able to extend that gap upwards of about 5/6 tenths of a second. And I think it's now a matter of if not, or when, not if, he is going to catch up to Ruben Chacha at the front, or to John Chico at the front of this field, as Chacha is really putting on a clinic here of not only how to drive fast around Suzuka, but how to make those high percentage passes.
Yeah, absolutely. But Sione could do himself a couple of favors here by hanging on the back for as long as possible, because if Chacha is going to close up the gap to Chico, then well, you want to be right on the back of him when he does. Might just be able to follow him right through, or yeah, even if Chico gets on the compromised line because of it, Sione could just drive straight by. One thing I would like to point out, Kana setting some good laps out there. 5th position in the pro category overall, 8th position for Kana, but just set the fastest lap of anybody in the race so far after pitting has completely clear air. And the first person down to a 2 minutes flat.
All right, so as we're seeing that try to burn itself off a little bit, we are waiting here for the remainder of the drivers to come on into pit lane as everything continues to work itself around right now. Sony holding on to 3rd place right now. I've got to say I'm a little bit impressed with him here at this point. He's been able to keep up to the back of Ruben Chacha. I thought Chacha would have streaked off into the distance, but Sony certainly making a valiant struggle here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just positioning his car in the right places to be able to catch onto the back of the slipstream and just gain on the straightaways. You can see there on the timing tower, down to 2.5 tenths per second, and the entire time they're going down these straights, gaining. Whereas Chacha actually not gaining that much on the straights to Chico. He's not gaining a whole lot of time at all, in fact. Chico doing a good job of maintaining that gap as well. I thought for a second Sione was going to look to the inside in the chicane, but see where most of the time comes from for Chacha. He's just gained a good 2-3 tenths there in the corner alone, just a little bit deeper on the brakes, carrying a couple more kilometers an hour through the corners, but actually a quicker lap time last time by for Sione. Gaining in the slipstream, could look for a move into turn 2. He's going to go for the move into turn 2, almost went for the move into turn 2. He looked for it for a second, but not quite there in the end.
Yeah, not quite there yet as we continue to look here on board with Sassoni trying to be able to hold into the back of Ruben Cha-Cha. This is going to be the real test here for Ran. If he's able to keep close in behind coming up through the S's here at this point, that will be the real test for him. If he's able to keep things close here, which it looks like he does, he's been able to keep the gap under 0.5 of a second, which is exactly what he needs to do, then he can open up some opportunities. You can see just how wide he is taking that car, and that's Cha-Cha! Cha-Cha making a big mistake coming through the first Degner.
Can he get it stopped? Can he get it stopped? He does. He just about makes it out of the gravel trap. That's very difficult to do because your car goes all four wheels up in the air when you go wrong here into the Degner. So we'll see this once again through the first Degner, gets it wrong, but then will get launched into the air over the crest of the second Degner, and that is the killer. It often leads straight into that wall. You can see, oh, he's just dipped his wheels over the edge of the curb. Here, bang, all four wheels over the edge of the curb, and he gets that stopped quickly because that wall, you can see, it's very close to the outside.
Yeah, very close indeed. And how many times have we seen in multiple races drivers running afoul of that as they come down through the corners? Now it's going to be Cha-Cha having to repass Nadav Yaron here at this point. I think this move is going to be pretty much set in stone as they come down now, trying to see what he's going to be able to do. Looks to the inside, able to get over onto the curb, keeps everything together, and Cha-Cha is going to be able to get that move to work. So move Cha-Cha back into third place position after that mistake. He's now going to have to re-rack and restack here a little bit as he's got about 4 or 5 seconds to try to gain back up on John Chico. That is going to be a high price to ask here. We look a little farther back in the field, though. This is Aiden Scheer trying to close in on Tomer Ventura. This is the battle for P2 in the AM category.
Plenty of cars cutting all the way to the far right of the circuit there. I'm not entirely sure what that's for because you often see that in qualifying where drivers will, on the end of their lap, cut right to the inside, and they do that very simple reason, just to cut the distance. They drive less to get to the end of the lap, and obviously the shorter the distance, the quicker it's going to be, the less time it will take to get from A to B. So I'm not too sure why they're doing that in the race. There's not too much of an advantage doing that. But yeah, I think maybe just following each other for slipstream and things like that. But yeah, definitely the field starts to spread out at about half the race distance. But then oftentimes we'll just see them close back up again together. Let's have a look a little bit further back in the field. It's going to be Diag, and it's got Galili just in front of him as well. These two had a couple of incidents each, but halfway through this race, still running, which is what we like to see.
Yeah, what we like to see for sure is Diag trying to close in behind, getting a big help of that aero wash. I think that's actually going to throw him off a little bit, and he's going to lose a little bit more time to Galili up in front of him. That gap now expanding up to about 1.2 seconds as they work their way now up through Dunlop, heading into the Degners. Let's see if Diag is able to close down a little bit on Galili. Looks a little bit squirrely there, but keeps the car underneath him. Galili, I think, may have locked up there coming into the second Degner as you saw a big puff of that brake smoke coming down into the corner. Diag trying to close this gap as much as possible. He does have it under 0.9 of a second as they dive down into the hairpin, but as they expand away here a little bit more, he's been able to keep it down to about 0.9. So Diag clearly having some speed through the middle sector of this lap.
Into Spoon they go. Very tricky corner, and all he gets over the curb, but he got far enough over the curb that it didn't matter. However, somebody else has got it a bit wrong there. I think that's Draw Last, was it? That's just off on the circuit in the background of the shot now. Not entirely sure where Last came from, but we may be able to find out. Very odd place for the car to be.
Yeah, very odd place indeed for them to be. Gonna have to sort of figure that out as we continue to go along. We keep our eyes on Diag right now, though, as we are officially over the halfway point in this race, which I think has got to mean, and Diag taking the words out of my mouth means that that pit stop window will be open here at this point, and drivers will be able to dive down into the pits and be able to be sure to make it to the end. We focus back now up on the battle for second overall and second in the pro category as Sony continues to try to hold off the attack here of Ruven Chacha. Let's see if Chacha has a little bit of a move into Spoon. No, he's going to keep it in line and stay behind here at this point in the race.
Oh, went side by side coming out of the corner, and Chacha just now peeking those in front as they go towards 130R. These two side by side again in this race. He gets the move done long before anything in terms of turn in for 130R. You can see how tight of a line that they're able to take through there. It's absolutely incredible. And now into the chicane they go, and once again Sioni's going to be about half a second behind, but beautiful exit out of that corner, and Sioni's going to be gaining speed the entire way down the straight. I reckon he's got that second place before they even make the braking zone.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Let's see what happens here as he's going to have that little bit of an opportunity. Doesn't dive to the inside, and Ruben Chacha is going to hold on to P2, so now he can continue his march up through the field, try to close down on John Chico. 6 seconds up the road from him, 6 seconds in about, let's call it 17 minutes, as now he's going to have a little bit of a new problem in the form of Diag, able to get around him coming up through the S's, but that is not the place you want to catch traffic if you are Ruven Chacha for two reasons. One, he has got to be pushing here to try to get his way back up to John Chico at the front of the field, but also he wants to try to escape the clutches here of Sony as we look out the back of Chacha's machine right now. A couple more drivers coming down into pit lane. Looks like Sure and Levi both bringing their way down in, so that pit stop cycle certainly underway here at Suzuka.
Through the hairpin they will go, and Chico with the brilliant opportunity with these two going side by side a couple of times now to just pull off into the distance, and that's exactly what he has been doing. 6.2 seconds to that gap up in front, and really a dominant performance so far from the driver of the 04. Still yet to see pit stops from these drivers though, so we'll still have to wait and see exactly where they line up compared to some of the other drivers. Kane's not too far behind actually. Kane's not too far behind at all.
No, he's really not. He's got an opportunity here to maybe try to see what he can do. Focusing in on the leader as of right now, though, John Chico up at the front of the field. Let's see if the 04 opts to come down into pit lane. Looks like he's going to stay out. We're going to keep our eyes back here on the closest battle on track as John Chico does indeed come down into pit lane, and it looks like here that Chacha and Sony are both coming in as well. So everybody diving into the pit lane, and Nadav Yaron as well. I think this may be the end of the pit stop window potentially.
I think this may be the end of Chico's lead as Kana back into the pit lane.
Interesting, maybe underfueled the car here at this point. Looks like the only driver that's really going to be able to stick it out is going to be Tomer Ventura.
Oh, Chico's still on the pits.
Oh, big problem there for John Chico. That was a long stop, 16 seconds. Now that's too short for a penalty. I wonder if he maybe forgot to change tires, if that could be the problem.
That's a good shout. That's a very good shout. It may well have been. Tires don't take too long in this IR04 car, but let's try and see what happened in this pit stop. Is it just a fueling error? Perhaps he's forgotten to change how much fuel he's going to take into the car, but we'll see now when he stops at the end of the pit lane.
Yeah, so there he's going to be coming to rest in the box. We can get that long shot here. Not really able to tell from this perspective if he jumped up onto the jacks or not. And hearing from our director behind the scenes, he is up onto the jacks. So I think that's the problem here, Dane. I think he took tires and nobody else did.
And that is unfortunate for him. But it could work into his favor. He was very, very quick compared to some of the other drivers out there on the circuit. And fresh tires is always going to be helpful. Is it helpful enough to regain some of that lost time? We'll see. Fairly shortly, only 14 minutes or so left in this race. It's gonna be tricky. it's going to be tricky. But he may just have the tire that he needs to gain up a couple of those positions. Will he be able to catch all the way up to Reuven? Well, that remains to be seen. But my big shock for me is Kana. What happened? He's pitted twice.
I think he must have just miscalculated the fuel, or maybe came in and added an extra stop there to get that damage fixed. And that could have been the issue as we jump back here. This is Tomer Ventura getting passed by John Chico, as it looks like the 13 of Ventura finally coming down into pit lane. As now Nadav Yaron, was the one that was battling there with him there. You can see the 04 of John Chico in the background. Now, crucially here, Chico has about, let's call it 4 seconds here or so, 4 or 5 seconds to try to gain in on Ruben Cha-Cha. That is the delta that he needs to try to beat. So let's see if he is able to get his way forward. Nadav Yaron, though, holding on to 3rd place overall, and a little bit of an island to himself. He's got about 2.5 seconds back to John Chico, and has about 3 seconds up to Ran to Sony. So he's going to have to push here if he wants to hold on to the podium positions.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a gap behind, but still plenty of time for that to close in. Sione is someone I've got my eye on now. Out of the draft from Cha-Cha, but still plenty of time to try and gain up a little bit of time. And if he can do so, we've seen already that he's able to make up some time in a pretty major way, getting past Diag once again. Obviously, did just before the pit window, lost a bunch of time. Diag goes back through and back past. They'll have to go once again now. But yeah, 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds, there or thereabouts. It's something that we've got to keep our eye on as we head into the final 10 minutes or so of this race.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eyes open here because I don't think any of this intrigue is quite done yet. Here is Sheeran Kaner coming up behind Marka Zubarev in that brightly colored machine. 2 very brightly colored machines. The 030 trying to hold the line here, coming through Spoon. Sheeran Kaner trying to work his way up forward. He's going to get a great run there out of Spoon Curve. Going to be able to tuck behind in the draft here of the 030. Trying to see what he's able to do. He's going to poke his nose to the inside a little bit early on the straightaway, but I think he's got the outright speed to be able to make that work. They're going to be wheel to wheel, almost coming together before they get into 130R. Is the number 43 or 48 able to make that work? Yes, he is. Zubarev has a little bit of a half-hearted look going down into the Casio Triangle. That's not going to play, and that is going to be Sheeran Kaner up into P6. That will be P7 overall.
Lots of work to do for Kana. It was an 11-second stop the last time by as well. So was that tires as well?
Might have been, or it could have maybe been some damage on the front nose of that car, and he needed to come on in, and maybe he already used his free repair to get everything done. We'll have to find out a little bit later on. Here's another battle that we have taking place right now. Reedley Sir trying to close in on Tomer Ventura. Ventura in the white machine right now, trying to see what they are able to do. Is Ventura on the number 13 going to hold that out here as they continue to go? Coming up through the S's, not really a chance here for Sir to be able to get a move done.
You're on. He's out. He's just dropped off the timing tower right in the last few seconds. Was in 3rd position, remember. Chico up into 3rd now. Goodbye up into 4th. Still side by side between these two. And Sir's going to get the move done on the outside and will lose it back up again. Ventura sneaks back up the inside again.
Yeah, good defense there from Ventura, especially considering the brake lockup that you saw going down into the corner. And I wonder there with Yaron if there was maybe an error that was made, because I'm seeing him categorized as in pit lane. This is Nadav coming up behind Diag right now, going into the Dagners. Doesn't look like Diag's all that close in front of him. Did he clip the outside of the curb? Diag gets it wrong, gets taken out by the lap traffic.
And I'm guessing that right rear tire, yeah, you can see already the front left is, it's not in a good shape, is it? It's all the way up in the air. That rear right tire is gone from the suspension, and that is an unfortunate way to end what was a very strong performance for the number 22.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate indeed. As we focus back in on that battle between Ventura and Sir right now, it looks like here that really had a little bit of a run coming through the Casio Triangle, found his progress a little bit blunted. Now he's going to poke behind in the draft, poke his nose to the inside of what will be turn 1. He's going to have a little bit more overspeed in that number 36. They'll be side by side down into the corner. Gotta watch out for the arrow wash. They tangle, and there goes Ventura around. Sir is going to try to keep going. I'm not sure how much damage is on both of those cars, but not the way you wanted to see that end.
No, and I'm not too sure this one's over either, because Ventura's going to have a bit of a vendetta now. You know, he's going to have a reason to catch back up and get back in front. So, yeah, we have to watch this one. 8 minutes left of this race. Plenty of time for Ventura to try and catch back up again. 1.8 seconds left between the two of them after this, and this is exactly what happened in towards turn number 1, just around the outside, and yes, slight contact there as they made their way for the turn in towards turn 2. I think Sir just didn't turn as much as Ventura expected.
No, I don't think so, and I've got to give credit there to Tomer Ventura. He definitely tried to hold that line and pinch really Sir down a little bit as much as possible to sort of prevent that flow of momentum, but it just looked like there that Sir wasn't able to get the car woed down enough, understeered just enough to make contact into Tomer Ventura, and that's what really caused that incident there between the two. There is really on your screen right now, he has been able to build a gap of about 2 seconds over Tomer Ventura. Not sure what kind of damage is on either of those cars, and that could be a very big deciding factor here for them. As we take a look back on the number 13, I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage here, but there could be just maybe a little bit of suspension damage, maybe a little bit of steering problem there, and that could be slowing him down ever so slightly.
Into the triangle then, and Kano with another fastest lap of the race. It's a shame that that's not going to mean a whole lot. 5th position in the pro category, 6th overall, but still putting in those times just to prove still has the pace, even though this race hasn't gone the way that they would have planned, would have hoped. Definitely still has the pace, and going into the next season, I mean, someone to watch out for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well, and that's the other thing to keep in mind here is that we will have another season of the iRacing Israel League, and I think that a lot of these drivers are looking to sort of capitalize on the momentum, keep that run of good finishes running well for them here at this point, and that can be something to carry on over. You know as well as I do, if you get into a run of good races, of good solid results, that is just going to bleed over into race after race after race. It's a little bit of that rhythm, that momentum, much like driving here at Suzuka. If you get that kind of rhythm and momentum going from race to race, it'll only build for you going into the future.
Yeah, and we don't actually know what the car is going to be next season. They do tend to change it up every single season. We've done touring cars, GT4 cars, GT3 cars. They had radicals for a season. We've done F3. We've now done IRO4, the equivalent of F4 car as well. Skippies for the first season either. They've gone for a whole bunch of different types of motorsport. Heck, we even did an oval race as a week 13 special event way back when. So yeah, they definitely try and cover as much things, as many different cars and tracks as possible. I do have a thought, if I can get my words out, DJ. The new Toyota. That would be a cool car to use.
Yeah, it certainly would be. The Toyota GR86 announced a while back as content coming to the sim, and it was officially announced, yeah, earlier this week that it is base content, so that it will be available to everyone. And I, for one, am very excited to get behind the wheel of that machine. And I've got to agree with you. I think it can put on some pretty spectacular racing here. And I, of course, have a little bit of a sweet spot for that car, as I will be able to be calling the GR86 Cup over the course of the 2023 season in real life. So that is going to be very exciting to see Toyota continuing their foray into not only motorsports and keeping that strong running going, but also into the sim world as well. It's a very, very exciting time. As we check back here, Yossi Gabai able to get a move here, it looks like, on John Chico. I think Chico, whoa, Chico had a bit of a problem there. You can see spinning out up in front. That's not going to help those fresher tires, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, definitely not. And that is the thing. When you go off, even if you can get back up and ahead of the person in front of you, your tires, absolutely gone. They are overheated, especially on, as I like to say, this sleepy tarmac. It looks like he's just caught the rear left tire on the curb, maybe. It's just throwing him around a bit on the apex of that left-hander.
Yeah, I think that's what it was there for him, just certainly getting thrown around, and that's going to put him down in the order, unfortunately, with only about 3 laps to go, and he now is able to get back around Yossi Gabai. Let's keep that in mind as we look at coming into the Casio Triangle right now. He's been able to get back by around him, but I think we're going to be coming to 2 laps to go here, and I think Chico is going to be denied out of anything of getting any farther up than 3rd place. Looking up into 2nd right now, Rantasoni doing a great job here to hold on to that position. He really hasn't been able to catch up to Ruven Chacha, who sits about 6 seconds up the road from him. But you said this earlier, Dane. I've got to give massive credit here to Ran. He has run a pretty spectacular race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, running right up near the front, doing everything right, it seems, at the moment. Just can't quite match the pace of Chacha now that he's lost the draft and is slowly dropping back. But still, if you look behind, 20 seconds, maybe 16 seconds between himself and John Chico behind. And he is extending that advantage that he has over 3rd place as well. He has been since the pit stop cycle, really. So, yeah, brilliant drive from the driver of that number 20 machine so far. And he's going to have another lap just to prove how good he has been over the course of today's race.
Yeah, he certainly is. And there is John Chico, and you can get a really good sense of just how big of a gap that is here at this point, as Chico sits about 20 or so seconds, make that about 18 or so seconds behind Rantasoni as he works his way down through Spoon right now. Yossi Gabai keeping the pressure up behind him. I got to think if Chico makes another mistake, that Yossi Gabai is going to be ready and willing to pounce here and move himself on forward. We'll have to see if he is able to do just that. Chico taking a defensive line coming down into 130R, trying to break that draft a little bit, as crossing over the start-finish line to take the white flag. Ruven Chacha, for good measure, setting the fastest lap of the race.
Gabai's going to cross the line here with about 40 seconds left to go, so it's going to be one more lap for him as he crosses the line in his bright green racing machine in that number 17. He's been driving the bright green racing machine, and the reason why I love it so much is he has kept that consistent for 2.5 years now. I think in March 2020, when the series started to begin with, he has had that bright green racing machine. It has come in very many different shapes and sizes. Delivery has changed season on season, but it is always bright green. And it makes me really happy because I can tell who I'm looking at immediately. You put the cars all on the grid, most drivers, their livery has changed every single season. Yossi, it's always green.
It certainly makes our job as commentators a little bit easier to be able to recognize that. And clearly, Yossi does not take into account the superstition of one Roger Penske, who refuses to run green cars. It's a big thing over here that I know that he believes that it is unlucky to be running a green car. So good to see that Yossi has no such superstitions, and clearly it proves him well here, running in 4th place right now, up where he wants to be, just outside the podium. But again, we'll give him credit here for running a good race. But I'll tell you who's running an even better race. That is Ruven Chacha, starting at the back of the grid here today and able to put himself up forward into the top spot. He comes out of the Casio Triangle for the final time to cross over the start-finish line and take victory here at Suzuka.
Oh. He's got all the way around there in the background, yeah.
It just shows you got to finish out this race. Here is John Chico and Yossi Gabai. Gabe maybe hoping for another lap or two more, as he may have been able to close in on John Chico, but your pole sitter there will be able to cross over the line and take P3 in overall and in the category. Here is Sheeran Kaner crossing over the line, and then here is Avarim Papashato, a great run to finish first place in the AM category, and by a pretty sizable margin here, Dane. He had about a 10-second advantage over this man, Mark Zubarev.
Yep, and the 0-3-0 coming in that second position. Papashato only joining us for the last couple of rounds and really impressing me in that AM category. Would not surprise me if we end up seeing him in the pro category for the next season. Should he sign up for it? I definitely would not be surprised to see it. Really strong showing in their first couple of rounds in this championship. Tomo Ventura, not the race that they would have wanted. They definitely had the pace to do a little bit better than they ended up doing in this round. So yeah, we'll hope to come back a little bit stronger in the next season. Amir has said, haven't really spoken about him, Amir has said, at all. Very quiet race.
Yeah, very quiet-laced
Keeping out of trouble.
Yeah, keeping out of trouble. 8th place finish in that AM category. He's going to be pretty pleased with that, I think, just being able to keep all 4 tires on the black stuff as we wait for the last 2 drivers to cross over the line. This is going to be draw last. We are still waiting for Aviad Yarmakov to come across the line as well. There is Yarmakov coming out of the Casio Triangle. He is the first driver a lap down here at this point. So he's going to come across, and he will finish in 10th in that AM category, and not too far behind him. Here is last coming across to finish P9 in the AM class standings. Let's go ahead and flash you up the final finishing order here. As we said, as it was your leader there, Reuven Chacha, working his way back up to the front of the field. Really, sir, in second place there. Rantasoni, rather, a good run there for him. John Chico, Yossi Gabe, and Sheeran Kaner rounding out your top 5 and your pro class categories. Then it was Avarim Papashato, Mark Zubarev, Really, sir, Bertie Galili, Aiden Shear, Tomer Ventura, Arnon Levi, Amir has said, and draw last driver to finish on the lead lap. Yarmakov was 1 lap down, and then we get into some of the drivers that had a rough day out there. Yaron, Diag, and Tal Stern rounding out your field. And it looks like here that we have been able to be joined by a few of our finishers. Let's first go to our second place finisher, Rantasoni. Ran, looked like you were under pressure there and having to fight through the middle section of that race, but a great finish, and P2's got to feel pretty good on the day.
Yeah, it feels great. I had a couple mistakes, so around mid-race, Chacha got away from me, and I couldn't stay on the slipstream because I did a couple mistakes, and I just decided to bring it home, bring it home safe, because I saw that John has like a 15-second gap behind me. So I decided to slow down to, take it safe and just bring it home.
Well, you certainly brought it home well, and how did you fare on this Suzuka circuit? I mean, Dane and I were talking about a little bit beforehand just how much it can be difficult to overtake and keep the car on the road. So focusing in and keeping that in, was that your main goal today?
Yeah, and also tire management. I tried to, once Chacha got by, I decided to just stay in his slipstream. I knew he was faster, so the sooner I will let him through, the better. And just to stay on his tail, save some fuel. Maybe it will get me a shorter pit stop, which it did. I actually got out from the pits a bit before him, and I actually just let him go because I know it's I'm not a match for him, so better to stay on his tail. And I just got a little overheating on the tires, and then I decided to just back off a bit and bring it home safe.
Well, you brought it home safe, you brought it home well, and a good way to end out the season. Gotta ask you, next season, what are you looking forward to? What do you think it'll be, and what are your goals as we continue to go along?
Well, I don't know. I hope it will be something, not an open wheeler, because I like a closer race. When you can bang doors, and in open wheelers it's really difficult. So I hope Not GT3s again, but something interesting. Maybe LMP. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to see. Ran, today, who would you like to thank for a second place run?
Well, first of all, thanks for everybody that taking part in the races. For you guys for broadcasting, and of course for Tal and everybody that's making this thing happen. So thanks everybody.
All right, well, thank you, Ran. And Dane, it looks like you have been able to catch up with John Chico.
Yeah, let's drag him on up here. John, welcome to the interview room once again. And a pretty up and down race for you. You led right from the beginning, but talk us through that actually, right from the word go, up the inside into turn one for that move. What was going through your head then? Obviously, it's not the easiest place to go side by side, but just get in front right at the start, avoid any issues further on.
Yeah, how you guys doing? If that's a roller coaster, if there ever was one, but yeah, I mean, I was kind of counting on Yossi not wanting to end both of our races on T1, so I was expecting him to let off a little bit, and he did, which is okay. But then now it's the end of the season, so I can say it. So I was kind of bunching everybody up behind him. I wasn't really going like 100%. I was going, I don't know, 90% as fast as I could. And ultimately that turned out to be good because I think it was in the last chicane. They had a get together, coming together, a few folks. So that kind of worked. When everything was going perfect until I pitted and I tried to save a little bit of fuel. I wasn't able to save enough. Then I pitted and I'm like, okay, why am I not seeing any automatic refueling happening? And then, I don't know, suddenly tires were starting to get changed. And so with a little bit of luck and some really bad driving for a couple of back markers, I was able to get back to third. I think I was just upset at myself like crazy, and that's why I spun out and let Yossi take third place, took it back again. But yeah, it's the end of the season. Second place is guaranteed. Nobody can touch Reuven so far, so I'm okay with it. Ultimately, turned out to be okay.
Speaking of next season, we always do the change of the cars at the end of the seasons. First question, I'll make it in two parts. First question, how have you found the F4 car over the course of the season? And secondly, what would you personally like to drive next?
So this is, first of all, the F4 is a fun little car. I think it's great. I prefer something a little bit more power, but I'll race, a shopping cart if that's what we have to race. It doesn't. I don't care. Even have to go Fred Flintstone on it and push with my feet. But I don't really care. Honestly, I prefer something faster and something a little bit more Larry. I would love to do a season in a V8. Yes, I would love to do that. But every time I say that, they're like, Are you freaking crazy? What are you talking about? Nobody's ever gonna survive that thing. So I don't know, but that's just what I would love to do. But whatever comes next, I'm happy with it. And that's it.
That's amazing. Well, thank you very much for your time this entire season and for providing us with some pretty great racing over the course of the season as well. We'll hope to see you back next season. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you guys. Have a good one. Thank you very much.
Always great to hear from the drivers. And John, absolutely no exception. Always love having a chat with him after the races.
Yeah, I always love to talk with him. He's always a good sport about it. But we've also been able to catch up here with your victor, Reuven Chacha. Reuven, I've got to start at the beginning here. Choosing to start at the back of the grid, was that for a little bit of fun, or were you just trying to avoid a little bit of calamity at the start?
Yeah, so at first, good evening, guys. And yeah, I choose to begin from the back as in the previous race because T1, the same as the previous race, is usually catastrophic here. And I had incidents in last week. I participated in the official races and lost around 400 or 500 iRating, but who cares? It was fun. And I choose to just begin from the back. Also, you know, keeping in mind that I had enough points to finish first in the league, so I wasn't in a rush to begin first and try to push, you know, from the front. So yeah, I just tried to keep it cool from behind, let the things flow, and thankfully everything worked well.
It certainly did work well, and talk to me a little bit about the pit stop strategy around here. Looks like you waited to come in a little bit. We saw some drivers hopping out early. Was that always the case? Were you right on what you wanted to do there, or did drivers out on track make things change it around?
Yeah, so I just tried to push it to the last minute, and I was hoping to save fuel, but eventually refueling is just a matter of a few seconds, or you know, every liter is around milliseconds, even though. And so I think that the strategy was just to have a good entry, good exit, and this is the most of the time there. So I think that I refueled a bit too much, but it didn't. It didn't impact the time that I've been in the pit too much. I'm thankful that Francione that was behind me in the pit entry didn't crash into me. It was pretty close. He kind of dive bombed into the entry. He did it pretty well though. I think that he exited the pit before me, or we've been side by side at the exit, as far as I remember. And I think that, you know, I just let fuel just end, because the car is pretty quick on low fuel, and it was like pretty good entry eventually.
Well, you certainly made it play out well, and I've got to ask you, looking forward to next season, what are you hoping comes up?
I'm a big fan of open wheels, but it seems like it doesn't work well with racing. So we need to find a sweet spot between a car that is fun to drive and a car that is a car that you can race with. So I guess that the next season won't include open wheel. This is my guess. Hopefully that it will be something that is fun to drive. There are some pretty fun cars upcoming to iRacing. Maybe the new GR86. I'm pretty looking forward into it. And the new BMW, I guess, right? The LMP car. So we need to check it out. I think it's too early to say, but the most important thing for me is a car that is fun to drive. This is the main reason I'm here, to enjoy.
Well, I know we will enjoy whatever you get into the car, Reuven, and congratulations on another win here today, and we'll talk to you next season.
Yeah, thank you. Talk to you next season. Can't wait to it. Hopefully it will be a fun car, and thank you very much for this season, guys. It was a big pleasure to have you here.
It was our absolute pleasure. That was Reuven Chacha, your victor here today, and now we've been able to catch up with series organizer Tal Stern. Tal, not exactly the best run there out for you today, but still a great result for the series. It was a fantastic race.
Yeah, good evening. It's not the best result for me in this race. Actually, I didn't practice, so this is the result. I hope next season I will be better, just for me. But I came here just to say thank you guys for an amazing season. You're doing a great job, and I'm very happy to work with you. And I want to thank the drivers that I see every season they improve their skills, their driving skills, and I hope the next season will be better.
Well, I certainly hope it is a little bit better for you. Any insight as to what we're going to be getting for next season?
We don't know yet what will be next season, not the car. We need to choose, and I hope we will know soon.
Well, I, for one, will be waiting with bated breath, Tal, and thank you so much for putting on the league and for just being a part of this. It is an absolute pleasure here for everyone.
Thank you very much. See you next season.
See you next season, Tal. All right, folks, that is unfortunately going to wrap things up for us here on Apex Racing TV. But on behalf of myself, my fellow co-commentator Dane Baird, and our director Luis Araya, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring you the racing action here today. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.